What is going on? How are you? I hope we're good. It's been a little while, so let me just pull my chart a little bit bigger for you there. I don't really like it. Why is it like this? 2 seconds. Let me try and alter whatever is going on here. This was set up really nicely, but apparently not. Oh, I just want to pull that down a little bit. Not the ideal start to the morning. Would have liked a bit of a better one, to be honest, but there we go. Right, let me just what a ball ache. Why am I having to do this? This is already done because I've changed my screen configurations. Right ho. Either way, let's just pull that up there. That will do. That will do. We have something on the screen, which is the most important thing. So hopefully that has all changed. Few things to go through today. This morning, obviously, we have not a lot going on, to be honest, in the way of economic data, which is always a positive for Monday, especially when Monday looks as poor as it did the couple of weeks ago, last week. So we see what is going on. We'll see how things go with regards to that. As things stand at the moment, no, I'm not particularly worried about fundamental data. The only thing that I am a little bit concerned about, if you want to call it a concern, is the fact that we have bank holidays in the US and in Canada. Those two things may cause us a slight problem or a slight issue in regards to what we have going on and how things may move or progress throughout the week. So we shall keep that in mind. With regards to pairs that I want to look at, though, pound Swiss I want to take a look at. It's looking pretty interesting now, especially on the 30-minute time frame. But you can see that we've had this drive to the upside. That doesn't take a rocket scientist to see, in fact, that we just drive this arrow through. We've had large pushes to the upside. No, it's not meant as a trend line. Just wanted to highlight the fact that we are in this upwards push, this upwards momentum. However, we haven't seen a particularly strong pound. And if we come to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that realistically we've made a lower low and could be in the zones and in the realms of making a potential higher high, lower high even. So there is scope within this, obviously, for us to have some form of a pullback. Definitely some form of drive back to 126. So with that in mind, obviously, we do need to be extremely mindful of what we have going on. Not to get too carried away, not to get too caught up in certain situations. But 126 holds the key, so it would seem, to an awful lot at the moment. So with 126, we do definitely want to see some form of a reaction. And we can certainly expect to see some form of reaction around that zone. It's just really dependent on kind of how that's going to respond. The likelihood and what we would like to definitely see would be that drive back to the downside. So a push away from here, create that lower high, push back down towards 126 and then a breakthrough. Now, I'm not sold on the fact that I want to short it from here, just because it's not particularly been the strongest of currencies, the Swiss franc. With that said, nor has the pound been, but the breakout from 126 with a retest and rejection away would all but confirm, if I just draw these in, would all but confirm that drive back to the downside. At which point, all we really need to do is be mindful around 24.50. But once 24.50 goes, we definitely have scope to get back to 122. Again, a little bit mindful around 23.50. But that push back to the downside, drive back towards 122.30 looks to be on the cards for us if we were to get through. So it really comes and depends on kind of how comfortable you are with the situation. But for high probability movements and and for the sake of high probability, definitely getting through 126 would be beneficial. However, if obviously we reject from 126, fail to break previous lows, then we can look towards upside. So you could definitely see from 126 a drive back into 127. And then obviously a look for what an alternative or a similar scenario to what we've got going on to the downside would be. So that breakthrough, breakout, pullback, retest, and then obviously see a rejection away leading to a potential upside towards 128.50, 128, somewhere around that region. Just take into account these highs that we have through here, looking at 128. But if we were to reject from 126, we could definitely take the range trade back up to 27, and then look for the break of 127 up to 128.50 or 128, somewhere around that area. Obviously, we can always look to take the short side back down. So taking, for instance, it would be pointless at the moment, I think, to take any position from here. If we just come into the 30 minutes again, realistically, I mean, you could definitely look to take a small trade, actually, to be fair, on a break back below this region. So a break back below the area, so 26.60. You could look for a break of a consolidation, and a push back down. Probably actually makes sense to go a little bit lower and into 126.50. So use breaks below 26.50 as potential entry points. Probably going to make a little bit more sense to us, for those that are comfortable with it only. Myself personally, probably not going to do it. Probably just leave the pair, let it do its thing, and then I'll see where to go from later movements on what we have going on. Not really looking to get involved too early in anything, as I say, with bank holidays in the US. This afternoon's liquidity is going to be quite light, and we have to take that into account when looking for potential trades and potential opportunities today. So for those that are comfortable with it and understand the risks involved, you can definitely short it from 126.50 down to 126 if you wanted to, anticipating that break, looking for 126 down to 24.50. Definitely an option for those that are comfortable with it. However, for myself, I am not going to rush or jump into that just yet. Pound dollar is another pair that I wanted to look at, just because a pound dollar, as things stand at the moment, is again in a pretty precarious place. Definitely potentials both to the up and downside with regards to this pair, depending on obviously what the dollar wants to do. There's also pound monetary policy this week, Thursday, might be Wednesday or Thursday. We have pound monetary policy hearings, so that can definitely present us with an opportunity as well. But surrounding this area at the moment at 138.50, we definitely have room that if we were to break through, we could see that push down towards 37.90 or 38. So again, that 50 pip movement Not something that I would look to take personally at the moment, but certainly something that we can keep an eye on. However, rejections away from here and pushes up towards the previous highs, so surrounding this 139 region, are what I am most intrigued about. Because if we were to see the rejection away from here, we would have seen the retest of the previous area of breakout. That would then solidify the fact that we've had a higher high and potentially a higher low, and then see drives up towards 140. If you come out to the 4-hour time frame, shows it a little bit better for us there, but definitely has the potential then to continue that drive and continue that push up towards 140, definitely in line with these previous highs through these regions. And obviously where we go from there remains to be seen. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to think that 142.50 was achievable though. So definitely be mindful. With regards to potential downside, I don't want to short it from 38.50. It makes little sense. But below 138, I would definitely be comfortable shorting the pair. Obviously, if we were to just... let's just copy this one quickly. And drag him up. Pull it out. You can see within this region at the moment, this little zone that we are in, or have rejected away from last week, sorry, that it's definitely not out of the realms to see that potential drive back down. That would then have retested this area of support as resistance, once again confirmed it as resistance, which it has done quite a few times previously, and then obviously see us want to take short positions from 138. Again, you would have had on a higher time frame that macro structure, the fact that you would have failed to break the previous highs coming to the daily time frame. Again, so not a lower low, but potentially a lower high on formation, the rejection away on Friday. Which is ironic considering the weakness that came out of the dollar on Friday. But definitely seeing the potential there that we could short this pair back down below 138 and drive into 137, 136.50, and then obviously potentially down to 135. So we do need to keep an open mind with the pair. And in regards to trading in general at the moment, things are a little bit topsy-turvy and a little bit all over the place. So we do just need to be very, very cautious in regards to what we are doing and where we are potentially looking for prices to head to. But it's certainly looking at pound dollar, looking at pound Swiss, not out of the realms to see potential pound sell-offs. I think a lot is going to depend on the monetary policy that is obviously later in this week. If the dollar wants to strengthen up though, then it has a lot of options and a lot of opportunities. One of them being dollar Swiss. So again, sticking with this Swiss franc, obviously a very sideways pair. Very, very range bound. You can see on the 4-hour time frames how range bound it is at the moment. So again, it presents us with an opportunity for that potential for a breakout. Not interested in range trading it at all. If we were to look at it from a range point of view, so range high to range low, you've got around about 100 pips if you're lucky. So let's say that you lose 10 pips for potential entry. You've also got around about probably a 30 pip, 25, 30 pip stop loss to stay safe. So you're losing far too much to make that worthwhile. However, you get the breakout range high up to the breakout from range high up to the highs, 180 pips. Range low down to previous lows, 190 pips. Let's just call it 180 again. So 180 either side of that gives us potential decent risk to rewards. Let's say that we take a 30 pip stop loss. That presents us with what, 6 to 1 thereabouts, just shy of. So it presents us with a very, very different landscape and a very, very different opportunity just by waiting and holding out for a little bit longer. So again, given the weakness that we've seen in the dollar at the moment, we don't particularly want to be taking too much too quickly, certainly disregarding today's movements with regards to it being bank holiday. Let's just get rid of that. And then I want to just draw in the similar scenario back to the downside here. So that breakout, retest, and the rejection away from that level back down. So the options are there. They're pretty clear to see. They're big ticket positions, which is something that we always want, but relatively straightforward to trade. All we're looking for is the breakout. Anything in between, not interested in the slightest. Just looking for breaks from 192 or from 92 even, and 91. In fact, let's just alert 91 and let's just alert 92. Straightforward, but we know what we are getting ourselves in for with regards to the pair. Very easy, very simple trades. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand them, doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand how to trade them. We just need to be patient and allow it the room that it requires, and give it the space that is needed to get through. So we shall see. Certainly, as I say, no rush with the pair. Also, let me just go into the lower time frames actually. I just want to see kind of what we're seeing at the moment. So definitely seeing some strength coming to the dollar, are we? Okay. Not a pair that I was particularly looking to cover today, but let's just look at Euro USD. Just because I know that the pair in itself has been approaching quite significant area. Completely clean chart, so in fact let's just do it now, shall we? Just want to pop out to the monthly time frame, find significant levels, significant key areas that are going to cause us potential movements. What have we got to the downside? I don't particularly want that, but I do want that level. Just come in a little bit lower just to take into account both of those regions. Anything to the upside, just into there. Come to the weekly, just check what we've got, see if there's anything that we've missed. What does that level look like? Not overly relevant to us right now, is it? Again, not overly relevant to us right now. See, it's this area that we're rejecting from, but I think it looks better on the daily, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'm just going to pull it up. So you can see here, previous resistance acting as resistance at the moment, but obviously resistance quite a lot through these areas, and that is what I am most looking for at the moment. Let me just tidy this up a little bit, because I don't like having a million levels on my charts like this. So I just want to come through. We understand that all of these levels have been found on the macro time frames, so they're all key and significant levels for us. This is just purely personal choice, and as this is going to be my chart to trade off, I just want to make sure that I enjoy looking at it as much. So just to not too worried about this level at the moment. Actually, we're not really relevant to us currently, is it? So looking at what we have then, significant push to the upside as you'd expect against most dollar pairs at the moment, given the weakness that we have seen in the US dollar. Significant strength coming into the euro. let me just get a box at the moment. Just want to cut off this region through here. Just want to take into account these little spikes through here, and I just want to pull that down ever so slightly. So this area at the moment is what seems to be key, so around 118, that's going to be key, and obviously above 119. So 118 looks pretty set to give us a push back down to probably 117. 119 gives us a push up to 120, somewhere around these previous lows through here, if we were to just box this off up here. So somewhere around 120. So those are the options that we have available to us at the moment, surrounding the US dollar. So below 118, above 119. I'm going to alert these again just because then they're on my chart and I don't need to worry about them. Coming into the 30-minute time frame now, definitely see below 118.50, certainly potential to short into 118. Rejection away from a massive level. However, if we rejected away from where we are at the moment, 18.50, you would consider that to be the higher low, and then that drive back to the upside and through 119. So good to have those alerted. Anyway, back on track with US dollar CAD. Dollar CAD again, very range bound as a pair, considering obviously it is a dollar pair at the moment. But again, it is the daily time frames. So again, we rejected away on Friday and started to see that push towards the upside that probably wasn't overly expected considering the poor results. But obviously we had CAD fundamentals as well. Now there is the Canadian Bank of Canada rate decision and rate statement this week. Not expected to change the rates, but obviously they've been very, very positive with regards to their efforts and their economic recovery since the pandemic started. So we the Canadian dollar and definitely the New Zealand dollar are the two front runners for that rate hike, pretty sharpish. So we do need to keep those in mind and be very mindful of how they have performed previously. If they come out and are very, very dovish, if they're very reserved in what they're saying and what comes out of their mouth in the statements, then obviously we could expect to see a massive sell-off surrounding the CAD. So with regards to dollar CAD at the moment, again, it's a simple breakout trade. There isn't anything to really take in between, but the pushes above 126 should lead to 128. A little bit of stalling around 127 is to be expected, almost without a doubt, but simple and straightforward. Below 125, you're likely to see a push into 123.50. So decent rewards are on the table with the pair. It's very, very range bound, as we can see previously throughout kind of August. Didn't really do a lot. Very, very range bound. Very, very just stuck in its ways. So we have that to be mindful of. But certainly at the moment, and certainly through the with what we're looking at, we have potential for that breakout, and that cannot be ignored. That is something that we are always going to want to trade and want to look at when it surrounds any pair. Certainly with the dollar pair, given the weakness that we've seen surrounding it, any strength or any positivity or any good news that comes into the pair is likely to lead to pretty big movements and pretty big pushes. Aussie USD is one of the last pairs that I want to just take a quick look at. Just because with Aussie dollar at the moment, again, we've seen massive amounts of strength come into the dollar. Not really sure where from or even why, but we have the Australian dollar in general has really pushed on. And given the fact that obviously half the country's in lockdown, in a bit of a turmoil surrounding the pandemic, I was very surprised. But their GDP also grew last week, which gave a little bit more fuel to that fire. If we come into the weekly time frame, you can see that we've had these two significant pushes. So potential drives to the upside cannot be ruled out in the slightest. However, we have this significant region around 74 at the moment. 75.50 is the only opportunity that we are going to use to take any potential long positions. That puts us back inside of a key range. Not to mention the fact that just that level in general historically has been very significant for the pair, and has always led to some pretty big movements. So that's something that we are looking to be extremely mindful of and something to watch out for. The pair in general, like I say, respects that 75 region very, very well. So we will keep watch of that area and see how we fare around that, and see what happens. But 74 is extremely interesting. 74 would give us an opportunity to obviously start to see sell-offs back towards 73, and then anything below 73 is a massive push and is likely to see us start to fire back down towards the 72, 71 regions. So that would really signal the fact that the tides have turned and things are starting to change for the pair. So it's something that we do want to watch out for. In general, you can see that we've had this pretty consistent drive to the downside. So we don't particularly want to go rushing into the fact that tides have completely changed and that we're seeing overwhelming Australian strength. But we do need to be very mindful of 75.50. But very aware that pushes below 74 could definitely lead us into drives back lower towards 73 and 71. 71 might be optimistic at the moment, but definitely on scope to do that. Gold is always a good underlier of where strength is in regards to the dollar, and obviously we've seen massive pushes with gold. But again, as is usually the case, we're rejecting from areas that we would expect to reject from. So a drive back down on gold can definitely be factored in. Probably looking for a push into 1820 and then obviously 18, probably the lows through here as well. So anything, if you can get the dollar anything below like 1817, so we're a significant way off that marker at the moment, but then you can definitely look to see. In fact, I would want to get below 1808, but anything below 1808 would definitely probably see drives into 1795, and that would be extremely positive for the US dollar also. So we shall see how we fare. There's certainly into the beginning of this morning, definitely reason to fancy the dollar for a little bit of a resurgence this week, but this could just be typical Monday movements, baiting people in. Not to mention that this is the first proper trading week of the month without any bank. I suppose the first was on second was on. So first full week of the month. So we shall obviously see how we fare. But just be mindful of the bank holidays as you go into this afternoon. But apart from that, I hope everyone has a decent day. And I will catch up with everyone tomorrow.